The textbook is Business Communication Essentials, a skills-based approach. Chapter 1, Understanding Business Communication in Today's Workplace. Communication is the process of transferring information and meaning between senders and receivers, using one or more written, oral, visual, or electronic media. The essence of communication is sharing, providing data, information, insights, and inspiration in an exchange that benefits both you and the people with whom you are communicating. No matter what career path you pursue, communication skills will be essential to your success at every stage. You can have the greatest ideas in the world, but they're no good to your company or your career if you can't express them clearly and persuasively. As you take on leadership and management roles, communication becomes even more important. The higher you rise in an organization, the less time you will spend using the technical skills of your particular profession, and the more time you will spend communicating. Aside from the personal benefits, communication should be important to you because it is important to your company. Effective communication helps businesses in numerous ways. It provides closer ties with important communities in the marketplace, opportunities to influence conversations, perceptions, and trends, increase productivity and faster problem solving, better financial results and higher return for investors, earlier warning of potential problems from rising business costs to critical safety issues, stronger decision making based on timely, reliable information, clearer and more persuasive marketing messages, greater employee engagement with their work, leading to higher employee satisfaction and lower employee turnover. Effective communication strengthens the connections between a company and all of its stakeholders, those groups affected in some way by the company's actions: customers, employees, shareholders, suppliers, neighbors, the community, the nation, and the world as a whole. To make your communication efforts as effective as possible, focus on making them practical, factual, concise, clear, and persuasive. So, provide practical information, give facts rather than vague impressions, present information in a concise, efficient manner, clarify expectations and responsibilities, offer compelling persuasive arguments and recommendations. You've been communicating your entire life, of course, but if you don't have a lot of work experience yet, meeting the expectations of a professional environment might require some adjustment. A good place to start to consider what it means to be a professional. Professionalism is the quality of performing at a high level and conducting oneself with purpose and pride. It means doing more than putting in the hours and collecting a paycheck. True professionals go beyond minimum expectations and commit to making meaningful contributions. Professionalism can be broken down into 6 distinct traits: striving to excel, being dependable and accountable, being a team player, demonstrating a sense of etiquette, making ethical decisions, and maintaining a positive outlook. Given the importance of communication in business, employers expect you to be competent at a wide range of communication tasks. These include organizing ideas and information logically and completely, expressing yourself coherently and persuasively in a variety of media, building persuasive arguments to gain acceptance for important ideas, evaluating data and information critically to know what you can and cannot trust, actively listening to others, communicating effectively with people from diverse backgrounds and experiences, using communication technologies effectively and efficiently, following accepted standards of grammar, spelling, and other aspects of high-quality writing and speaking, adapting your message and communication styles to specific audiences and situations, communicating in a civilized manner that reflects contemporary expectations of business etiquette, communicating ethically even when choices aren't crystal clear, respecting the confidentiality of private company information, following applicable laws and regulations, managing your time wisely, and using resources efficiently. In addition to having the proper skills, you need to learn how to apply those skills in the business environment, which can be quite different from your social and scholastic environments. Every company has a unique communication system that connects people within the organization and connects the organization to the outside world. The system, in this broad sense, is a complex combination of communication channels, such as the internet and department meetings, company policies, organizational structure, and personal relationships. To succeed in a job, you need to figure out how your company's system operates and how to use it to gather information you need and to share information you want others to have. Successful business professionals take an audience-centered approach for their communication, meaning that they focus on understanding and meeting the needs of their readers and listeners. Providing the information your audiences need is obviously an important part of this approach, but it also involves such elements as your ability to listen, your style of writing and speaking, and your ability to maintain positive working relationships. Even with the best intentions, communication efforts can fail. Messages can get lost or simply ignored. The receiver of a message can interpret it in ways the sender never imagined. In fact, two people receiving the same information can reach different conclusions about what it means. Fortunately, by understanding communication as a process with distinct steps, you can improve the odds that your messages will reach their intended audiences and produce their intended effects. Many variations of the communication process model exist, but these 8 steps provide a practical overview. The sender has an idea. The sender encodes the idea as a message. The sender produces the message in a transmittable medium. The sender transmits the message through a channel. The audience receives the message. The receiver decodes the message. The receiver responds to the message. The receiver provides feedback. The basic communication model presented in your book illustrates how a single idea moves from one sender to one receiver. In a larger sense, it also helps represent the traditional nature of much business communication, which was primarily defined by a publishing or broadcasting mindset. However, in recent years, a variety of technologies enabled and inspired a new approach to business communication. In contrast to the publishing mindset, the social communication model is interactive and conversational, and usually open to all who wish to participate. Audience members are no longer passive recipients of messages, but active participants in a conversation. Social media have given customers and other stakeholders a voice they did not have in the past. Ethics are the accepted principles of conduct that govern behavior within a society. Ethical behavior is a company-wide concern, but because communication efforts are the public face of a company, they are subjected to particularly rigorous scrutiny from regulators, legislators, investors, consumer groups, environmental groups, labor organizations, and anyone else affected by business activities. Ethical communication includes all relevant information, is true in every sense, and is not deceptive in any way. In contrast, unethical communication can distort the truth or manipulate audiences in a variety of ways. Examples of unethical communication include plagiarism, omitting essential information, selective misquoting, misrepresenting numbers, distorting visuals, failing to respect privacy or information security needs. The widespread use of social media has increased the attention given to the issue of transparency, which in this context refers to a sense of openness, of giving all participants in a conversation access to the information they need to accurately process the messages they are receiving. A key aspect of transparency is knowing who is behind the messages one receives. Some ethical questions are easy to recognize and resolve, but others are not. Deciding what is ethical in complex business situations is not always easy. An ethical dilemma involves choosing among alternatives that aren't clear-cut. Perhaps two conflicting alternatives are both ethical and valid, or perhaps the alternatives lie somewhere in the gray area between clearly right and clearly wrong. Unlike a dilemma, an ethical lapse is a clearly unethical and frequently illegal choice. Ensuring ethical business communication requires three elements: ethical individuals, ethical company leadership, and the appropriate policies and structures to support ethical decision-making. Many companies establish an explicit ethics policy by using a written code of ethics to help employees determine what is acceptable. Showing employees that the company is serious about ethical behavior is also vital. Throughout your career, you will interact with people from a variety of cultures, people who differ in race, age, gender, sexual orientation, national and regional attitudes and beliefs, family structure, religion, native language, physical and cognitive abilities, life experience, and educational background. Although the concept is often narrowly framed in terms of ethnic background, a broader and more useful definition of diversity includes all the characteristics and experiences that define each of us as individuals. As you'll learn in this chapter, these characteristics and experiences can have a profound effect on the way business people communicate. Smart business leaders recognize the competitive advantage of a diverse workforce that offers a broader spectrum of viewpoints and ideas, helps companies understand and identify with diverse markets, and enables companies to benefit from a wider range of employee talents. For all their benefits, diverse workforces and markets do present some communication challenges, and understanding the effect of culture on communication is essential. Culture is a shared system of symbols, beliefs, attitudes, values, expectations, and norms for behavior. You are a member of several cultures. In fact, based on your national origin, religious beliefs, age, and other factors. Culture influences the way people perceive the world and respond to others, which naturally affects the way they communicate as both senders and receivers. These influences operate on such a fundamental level that people often don't even recognize the influence of culture on their beliefs and behaviors. This subconscious effect of culture can create friction because it leads people to assume that everybody thinks and feels the way they do. However, differences between cultures can be profound. You don't need to become an expert in the details of every culture with which you do business, but you do need to attain a basic level of cultural proficiency to ensure successful communication. Every attempt at communication occurs within a cultural context. The pattern of physical cues, environmental stimuli, and implicit understanding that convey meaning between two members of the same culture. However, cultures around the world vary widely in the role that context plays in communication. In a high-context culture, people rely less on verbal communication and more on the context of nonverbal actions and environmental setting to convey meaning. In a low-context culture, such as the United States, people rely more on verbal communication and less on circumstances and cues to convey meaning. Cultural context influences legal and ethical behavior, which in turn can affect communication. As you conduct business with colleagues and customers around the world, you'll find that legal systems and ethical standards differ from culture to culture. Making ethical choices across cultures can seem complicated, but you can keep your messages ethical by applying 4 basic principles. Actively seek mutual ground, send and receive messages without judgment, send messages that are honest, show respect for cultural differences. Social behavior is guided by numerous rules, some of them formal and specifically articulated. Table manners are a good example, and others more informal and learned over time, such as a comfortable standing distance between 2 speakers in an office. The combination of formal and informal rules influences the overall behavior of everyone in a society in areas such as manners, attitudes toward time, individual versus community values, attitudes toward status and wealth, respect for authority, and degrees of openness and inclusiveness. Nonverbal communication, communicating without the use of words, is a vital part of the communication process. Factors ranging from facial expressions to style of dress can influence the way receivers decode messages, and the interpretation of nonverbal signals can vary widely from culture to culture. Gestures or clothing choices that you don't think twice about, for example, might seem inappropriate or even offensive to someone from another culture. In some cultures, youth is associated with strength, energy, possibilities, and freedom, while age is often associated with declining powers and a loss of respect and authority. In contrast, in cultures that value age and seniority, longevity earns respect and increasing power and freedom. In addition to cultural values associated with various life stages, the multiple generations in the workplace present another dimension of diversity. Each of these generations has been shaped by dramatically different world events, social trends, and technological advances, so it is not surprising that they often have different values, expectations, and communication habits. Each generation can bring particular strengths to the workplace. Gender influences workplace communication in several important ways. First, the perception of men and women in business varies from culture to culture, and gender bias can range from overt discrimination to subtle and even unconscious beliefs. Second, although the ratio of men and women in entry-level professional positions is roughly equal, the percentage of management roles held by men increases steadily the further one looks up the corporate ladder. This imbalance can significantly affect communication in such areas as mentoring, which is a vital development opportunity for lower and middle managers who want to move into senior positions. Third, evidence suggests that men and women tend to have somewhat different communication styles. Broadly speaking, men emphasize content and outcomes in their communication efforts, whereas women place a higher premium on a relationship maintenance. As one of the most personal and influential aspects of life, religion brings potential for controversy and conflict in the workplace setting, as evidenced by a significant rise in the number of religious discrimination lawsuits in recent years. Many employees believe they should be able to follow and express the tenets of their faith in the workplace. However, companies may need to accommodate employee behaviors that may conflict with each other and with the demands of operating the business. The situation is complicated with no simple answers that apply to every situation. People whose hearing, vision, cognitive ability, or physical ability to operate computers or other tools can be at a significant disadvantage in today's workplace. As with other elements of diversity, success starts with respect for individuals and sensitivity to differences. Employers can also invest in a variety of assistive technologies that help create a vital link for thousands of employees with disabilities, giving them opportunities to pursue a greater range of career paths and giving employers access to a broader base of talent. In any cross-cultural situation, you can communicate more effectively if you heed the following tips. Avoid ethnocentrism. Avoid stereotyping. Don't automatically assume that others think, believe, or behave as you do. Accept differences in others without judging them. Learn how to communicate respect in various cultures. Tolerate ambiguity and control your frustration. Don't be distracted by superficial factors such as personal appearance. Recognize your own cultural biases. Be flexible and be prepared to change your habits and attitudes. Observe and learn. The more you know, the more effective you'll be. To write effectively for people who may not be comfortable using your language, remember these tips. Use plain language. Avoid words with multiple meanings. Be clear. Cite numbers carefully. Avoid slang and be careful with technical jargon and abbreviations. Be brief. Use short paragraphs. Use transitions generously. When speaking to people whose native language is not your own, you may find these tips helpful. Speak clearly, simply, and relatively slow. Look for feedback but interpret it carefully. Rephrase if necessary. Clarify your meaning with repetition and examples. Don't talk down to the other person. Learn important phrases in your audience's language. Listen carefully and respectfully. Adapt your conversation style to the other person's. Check frequently for comprehension. Clarify what will happen next. Finally, remember that oral communication can be more difficult for audiences because it happens in real time and in the presence of other people. Today's businesses rely heavily on technology to facilitate the communication process. In fact, many of the technologies you might use in your personal life, from Facebook to Twitter to video games, are also used in business. The benefits of technology are not automatic, of course. To communicate effectively, you need to keep technology in perspective, use technological tools productively, guard against information overload, and disengage from the computer frequently to communicate in person. Remember that technology is an aid to communication, not a replacement for it. Technology can't think for you, make up for a lack of essential skills, or ensure that communication really happens. No matter how innovative or popular it may be, a technology has value only if it helps deliver the right information to the right people at the right time. You don't have to become an expert to use most communication technologies effectively, but to work efficiently, you do need to be familiar with basic features and functions. Conversely, don't worry about learning advanced features unless you really need to use them. Many software packages contain dozens of obscure features that typical business communicators rarely need. The overuse or misuse of communication technology can lead to information overload, in which people receive more information than they can effectively process. Information overload makes it difficult to discriminate between useful and useless information, inhibits the ability to think deeply about complex situations, lowers productivity, and amplifies employee stress both on the job and at home, even to the point of causing health and relationship problems. Make sure every message you send is meaningful and important to your receivers. Even the best technologies can hinder communication if they are overused. For instance, a common complaint among employees is that managers rely too heavily on email and don't communicate face-to-face often enough. Speaking with people over the phone or in person can take more time and effort and can sometimes force you to confront unpleasant situations directly, but it is often essential for solving tough problems and maintaining productive relationships.